Hello, welcome back to Level 1 News. Today we're doing what?
It's not what it is.
What? Oh, I forgot.
It's the Level 1 variety show now.
Yeah, because apparently the word news is one of the words that gets flagged by the YouTube algorithm.
Probably shouldn't say that either. That's not why we're doing that. This is a brand new show.
We're just doing it because it's a new thing and trying to stay relevant with the hashtag kids.
Also, clearly there's an empty microphone today. Wendell's doing some humanitarian work. He's teaching Sri Lankan orphans how to root their phones.
I don't think that's true.
Booking that flight was a bitch, let me tell you.
There's no fuel there.
Delta's not going in and out. I don't know, that's true, maybe they are. But let's talk about some websites. Just some websites. There's nothing in common that they have. We're just going to talk about it.
Yeah, just some, random timely posts.
So let's talk about the FTC. It seems that because it is now politically popular to do so, the FTC has all of a sudden noticed that there's no such thing as anonymous data and everybody tracks you.
Huh.
Weird how that's just now happening.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. There's a black screen. There's something. Our window capture broke. There we go. We're back.
We'll just leave that in.
That was like such a short blip. You guys didn't even notice. FTC warns tech companies against misusing health data following Biden's executive order protecting abortion access. Demonetized again.
Yeah, a lot of red flags there.
Yeah.
Same old argument as all the other medical data arguments. You can't really anonymize it. It can be used against you, and just your location is probably enough in this case to accuse you of something. So, yeah, that's a problem.
It's probably a positive, but also they're so toothless. Like, will anything even come of that?
That was also not the first story. Wow. What a collection of errors this has been so far. This was actually the story that I wanted to open up with because, oh boy. Now, we talked about this last week, but we've got some more details. And let's do the headline first.
Yeah, U.S. military contractor moves to buy Israeli spy tech company NSO Group.
So, L3 Harris, we talked about this last week. They're a defense contractor, a third party, not technically part of the government, but
probably part of the government. We just don't know about it.
I'm sure a lot of people on their executive board, if they have one, are ex-government.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, the problem here is after that story came out, some people in the government were like, what? No. Do you not know that that's a sanctioned company? How are we going to bring a sanctioned company into one of our defense contractors? And so L3 Harris came back and said, no, we've got the support of all of these spy agencies. But apparently the spy agencies didn't tell the lawmakers, or they did, and the lawmakers are pretending they didn't.
This article says there's 5 or 6 different sources that say, no, they had permission to do this. So I don't know. Maybe the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing.
Imagine that. Imagine that in a bureaucracy. Although I suspect it's probably just lies.
Yeah,
Someone's
I also kind of had that thought where it's like they probably just want this tech for themselves, but they don't want to be seen supporting it.
Now, one of the big things that they're talking about with this is their trove of malware. If it comes to the DoD, a lot of people suspect, and it seems like a lot of people are lobbying, that will get provided to all the Five Eyes countries. So every government will now have the abilities that the NSO Group has to hack your iPhone. And lots of other stuff too. Stingrays.
Everything.
Or no, that's a different company, isn't it? Is NSO Stingray?
I don't think so. Chat.
Sure they got something like that.
Yeah, engagement challenge.
And more from the FCC this time, and this is a nice one. Yeah, it's good to hear, but why are we limiting it to this subset? Right? Why does it just have to be these? Why not?
I mean, these ones are the worst, but there's a lot. FCC cracks down on spam auto warranty robocalls. I mean, these are the ones I get the most of, but yeah, we should be doing this for all robocalls.
I don't get as many of these as I do. They're usually talking about my Discover card, my Apple account. I get a lot of those.
Yeah, I know you have a lot of Apple accounts, so many.
So they've identified some of these companies here who are guilty of this kind of thing. So if you know anybody that works for one of these companies, you should exclude them from your life.
Don't invite them to your next party. What's the next big holiday? Is this Labor Day? Labor Day's not really a big holiday, but it's like a 3-day weekend.
What?
What was this?
What is it? Oh my God. I hate this computer so much.
It's fine.
Oh.
Oof, we're all over the place. There we go.
And when it comes to the ISPs getting money from the government, it's always been a problem. Has it ever gone well?
No.
Have we ever given the ISPs money and gotten something good in response? I don't think we have.
Maybe in the long distant past, but there's no accountability. So, I mean, they just take that money and run.
So, yeah, one of the big things that we do is we say, hey, if you're low income, you have to get on the internet, right? It's important because now you have to do everything on the internet. You can't really opt out of it. And then we had the pandemic, and then that was even worse. So we say, hey, if you're poor, we're going to give you some money for your low income ISP.
Man set up fake ISP to scam low-income people seeking government discounts, FCC says.
It was a ballsy play.
Yeah.
Set up a fake company, sign people up. It was a real sweet deal. I mean, you got some great speeds for low prices, except there was no company. There was no infrastructure. There was nothing. And then when you would call to complain and say, hey, I got nothing, they would tell you, well, read the contract. That's what you agreed to. You get nothing.
That's so ballsy.
And if those people were like, well, I'm going to complain, they would tell you that you're going to be sued for that. So you will be taken to court. And they might have to appear in court, but it won't be as defendants.
No.
Made a lot of money from that, too. It's crazy how long that can work.
It seems like you want to get in and get out really quickly, but that guy just got too greedy. If he just disappeared.
That's every drug trafficker in history.
Yeah.
Nobody knows when to leave. Although I guess we never hear about the ones who know that, right?
Yeah, I guess they just disappear, yeah.
Well, this is a somewhat sad story. I mean, you can't really argue that he wasn't... Well, actually, you can argue that it might not have been him. But we know that somebody did this.
Yeah.
However, the question is, was this really not better for the general public? Were we in a better place now than we were before? At least we know more now, right?
Maybe there's an argument to be made that knowing more is worse. Ex-CIA engineer convicted in massive theft of secret info. This was back in, 2017?
This was the Vault 7 stuff.
Yeah.
And, oh boy, did they not care for that. So he actually defended himself.
That was the standout in this article for me, was the judge was like, you had really good arguments. Good job.
Didn't matter.
Yeah, it didn't matter. He still convicted him. But
I suspect he could have had Johnny Depp's legal thing. It wouldn't have mattered.
Wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, they were going to get him. And so he's going away for a very long time. And again, I don't know, fortunate, unfortunate, depends on where you're looking at it from. But I'm glad to know.
Yeah. I understand why they have to come down on people who do that, but also, shouldn't you just be honest in the first place?
But who's coming down on them for all of their crimes?
No one.
Exactly. Mr. Elon Musk.
Oh, he's the king of screwing us over every week on the not news program.
He loves the Friday 5:30 releases.
Yeah.
And you can't blame him because he's been doing some stuff recently that's not good for PR.
Yeah.
Pulling out of Twitter, not good for PR. Not pulling out of the Intel or the AI girl, also not
Neuralink,
good for PR.
yeah.
Yeah. So here we are again, and if you'll recall, Mr. Musk has had a very, very checkered relationship with the SEC.
They're not fans.
In fact, many of his tweets, which is funny because that's what's in question here, are anti-SEC and really catty. And you got to think that those people who work there, sure, they're mindless bureaucrats, but they're also human beings. And I think they're going to remember.
Yeah. SEC letter to Musk questions tweet about Twitter acquisition.
Yeah, so they're looking at a lot of his old tweets, and they're looking at whether or not he tried to use Twitter against Twitter.
Basically to manipulate the stock price, which I think he absolutely did. Whether they'll actually stick anything to him, it seems like they're kind of toothless as well.
Well, if you remember, he was already on probation.
Yeah.
And he was already supposed to have his tweets confirmed. Did that expire already? I think they actually just recently went after him again. It was like, hey, you're not doing that.
Oh, yeah, because the lawyers were supposed to, his PR team was supposed to check everything he tweeted, and they can't keep up with him.
So,
do you think he was, calling them in the middle of the night?
No, I don't think he did anything.
But maybe that's how he burnt him down. He would call him at, 1 a.m. high on something I'd be like, I need to tweet.
I think they were like, Musk, you can't do that. And he was like, okay. And then he just kept doing it.
Just doing it, yeah.
Probably what he's been doing his entire life. Now, this one, I thought I sorted this in a different spot. But
yeah, is this supposed to be in government?
This is a weird one because boy, does this stretch the 230 argument to the limit. Now, I got to side on the company here. Like, how could they know? How could you build this in a way to not allow this to happen? I also had that question. I don't know if the child lied.
They absolutely did.
But isn't it like you have to be 13 for most of these?
Yes, or 18 in some cases.
She was not. But I suspect that this will probably go the other way, and it will chip away at our online freedoms.
Omegle can be sued for matching child with sexual predator, says court. So the child in question, I think, was 11 years old.
Yeah.
And they were on Omegle, which is like a chat service, and they got matched with like a 30-year-old creep. Which the kid shouldn't have been on Omegle. And their terms of service, before you even start chatting, say, don't, if you're not, I think at least 13 or 18 maybe, don't chat.
If you want to prosecute this, then definitely prosecute it. I mean, who cares about the sexual predator, right? But you should also apply whatever penalty you give him to both parents. They should actually be in the same cell with the sexual predator for whatever amount of time. Even the mom. But the argument here is that 230 does not apply because Omegle chooses the other person rather than, like, if you were reading somebody's profile online, then you clicked on that. You're like, I want this content. But with Omegle, it's just like,
it's Russian roulette.
Spin it, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're saying that Omegle made the decision.
I feel like that. I don't use Omegle, but I feel like isn't that the whole joy of the platform? Is that it really is that roulette of like, who knows what's going to be on the other end?
Especially if you're a child predator.
Or just, a weirdo. But
is there a Venn diagram where those are not the same?
It's just this one circle.
He's a child predator. He's a good guy. Salt of the earth, that one. And we've been hearing a lot about UFOs. We haven't been hearing a lot of new facts about UFOs, but the government all of a sudden wants to talk about them. I don't know why. And,
maybe to distract us from the giant inflation rate.
Could be. Or hoping that will fix the economy because nothing else is going to.
The aliens will do it.
But now, if you've seen one, you don't have to worry as much about repercussions.
UFO whistleblowers would get immunity under new amendment.
So it's going to be kind of like a secret Dropbox kind of thing, and these guys get to review it, and they can't come after you saying like, oh, that's a secret, that's a military secret or whatever, if it's a UFO.
Drop your UFO sighting in a mailbox and it'll make it to the highest levels of government.
It's like when you lose your car keys.
Yeah.
Not expecting much from it. No. I would hate to be the guy who has to comb through all that.
Oh my gosh.
Do you know how many like human feces encrusted, hand printed letters you're going to get in that box?
Or like just a blurry photo of a cloud. And it's like, this was a UFO. And it's like, that's a cloud.
Also with those blurry photos are a lot of genital photos. Yeah. Some air tags.
I want to know where it goes.
Where's the Area 51? And AOM is a industry group. It's all the big names are in it, all the big tech companies. And they are getting together and putting together this new kind of video platform, which everybody is moving to. But why would you not want that? Well, maybe because they're going to lock down the copyright in ways that we already are not doing, which we're doing a lot.
Exclusive EU antitrust regulators probing tech group AOM's video licensing policy.
So this is it's A1, I think. I can't remember the name of the compression thing. Reuters.
Yeah, Reuters has been killing me all day when I've been trying to read these articles.
You got to turn the JavaScript off, but I don't want to do that here because it'll mess everything else up. But yeah, basically the EU saying, hey guys, come on. I mean, look at the names in this group: Apple, Google, Facebook, Meta, whoever, and they're saying no, we can't. This is absolutely going to be bad for everybody who refuses to use your CDNs and stuff like that. So another big legal battle coming there. No surprise. And Amazon, if you remember last week, we were talking about a lot of the EU countries are coming after them because the whole
they promote their products over anyone else's.
And they do that by looking at the data, the seller data. So you sign up with them, they take the data from your sales, use it against you. And now Amazon apparently doesn't have a really good argument
Yeah.
to say that we didn't do that. So they're sheepishly saying, well, maybe we changed some stuff.
Amazon offers to limit use of merchant data in bid to settle EU antitrust probe. They had like 3 things listed in the article that they were promising to do. Mainly that they weren't going to promote their products over someone else's using the data.
Right. So non-public data, they will not take anymore. I don't believe that.
I also, like, how is anyone going to enforce that? Are they just saying, yeah, okay, and then they just don't do anything?
And then the buy box, which is the thing on the right where it's like, oh, you can buy it directly from Amazon or these sellers. You know, it's got all that stuff. May not have prime shipping. They're going to agree to make some changes there, change the ranking for the suggested products and stuff like that. And with prime delivery, not being so controlling about saying you have to use prime delivery, giving other options and not charging extra for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. We'll see.
I think they're going to do it. I mean, it's not like the EU is going to be like, you guys don't have to.
Oh, I liked that lip service. The EU is kind of hard on that kind of thing.
But what's going to be funny is they're going to do that in the EU, but nowhere else.
Yeah.
So then if you're an American lawmaker, that's a slam dunk, right?
Well, if you're not bought and paid by Amazon, yeah.
There's got to be at least one. Actually, there isn't.
There probably isn't, no.
And here's a terrifying new one, and not a lot of details so far because this is just like whispers in the dark. But there's no reason to doubt them because this is the exact kind of thing that everybody wants in power.
EU lawmakers slam radical proposal to let ISPs demand new fees from websites. ISPs really just looking for any way they can nickel and dime us.
Well, not just us. Now they're going in both directions. They want the consumer to pay more, and now they want the websites to pay more. Now, that's not the first time they've introduced this idea.
No.
But it keeps coming back, and I think eventually they probably will wear down whoever and get it. But they're saying, hey, Facebook, Netflix, all these companies, they're using our data, and we should be paid for that. And no one steps back and says, your customers pay for that.
Yeah, your customers are the ones paying for it.
You're paid for it.
And you've also been paid by the federal government. I'm standing in his Wendell right now to whine about how ISPs got paid by the government to
this is
upgrade.
the EU. They probably did the same thing. Engagement challenge. What has the EU done in terms of ISP subsidies already for this?
I'm sure a lot.
Of course, they roll out the usual excuses. 5G and fiber to the home. Hey, guys, we just can't pay for that. It's too expensive.
We don't make any money.
We made all these plans to roll it out, and we submitted those plans. Now I am going back to the U.S. again here.
Yeah.
And we submitted these plans, and we were like, we need this amount of money to do this plan. And then we were given that amount of money, but now we want more.
We did nothing, but we really think we really deserve more money. Inflation is just really killing us.
And the UK had their big online safety bill, and oh boy, was that a bad idea. Continues to be a bad idea, but now Bojo is gone. Or at least he's in the process.
I'll say, is he actually gone, or is it like
waiting for the successor to be chosen?
By the time this comes out, then we may have heard more about that.
And it's very likely to be one of these 6 faces.
Oh. UK's online safety bill on pause pending new PM. All I could think about was like, do you think Queen Elizabeth is just exhausted at this point? How many prime ministers has she had?
I don't think. Is there any possibility she's not exhausted every waking moment?
Yeah, just in general.
She's probably tired when she's sleeping. Her bones probably hurt. Not a lot of promising stuff in here. I don't think there's any one of these candidates is like, yeah, we got to get rid of that. Just some of them are like, well, I don't like it because he had it. And some of them are like, no, we still need it. Let's keep doing it. So we will hear much more about that. Myanmar,
I almost was about to ask. I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to pronounce this in the.
But they're in the news a lot. They're in the tech. No, I'm sorry. Why did I say that? We talk about them as random websites that we visit a lot.
Yeah.
And part of the Belt and Road, China looking to get its money out there and get control over some of these Asian countries. So they're like, hey, Singapore, bet you'd love to have a lot of subsidized government surveillance, hey? And the Singapore's leaders, because they're probably corrupt, said, well, absolutely, we'd love to have that.
Yeah, sure.
And these duffel bags that you delivered, I really like what was in those as well. Very nice.
Exclusive. Myanmar's junta rolls out Chinese camera surveillance systems in more cities.
Is it junta or junta?
I've always read it as junta, but I don't know. I've never said it out loud.
It's one of those weird words that we don't have here.
Yeah. I think it's a loan word, but I'm not sure what language it came from.
So this is every company that we have now banned. All the big Chinese camera companies that we're not allowed to use anymore are all up in Singapore now, Myanmar, and they are putting them everywhere.
Surveilling, just out there, living their best life.
And you know, this is running that CCP software, which they're letting the local authorities use, of course, no problem. But much like TikTok, I suspect there's an admin account,
Yeah.
maybe more than one, that some people in China are able to use. Probably moving some data back over those borders.
Do you really want China to have your data right now, too?
I don't want anybody to have my data.
Well, I don't want anybody but China.
I don't want Myanmar to have it either, even if I live there. Here's a weird one for India. Weird in that most of the Indian headlines that we see are not great when it comes to technology. They're a bit backwards, especially the government. I'm not saying the Indian people are backwards, but the government certainly is.
That's probably true of most governments when it comes to tech.
But I wonder if this has something to do with the knowledge that it's going to be harder and harder and harder for people to buy these. So we better let them fix them.
Yeah. India proposes right to repair framework for mobile phones and consumer durables.
It's not wildly different than the other right to repair stuff that we've seen. Basically, it doesn't really spell out a lot of stuff. It's just saying that you have to have access to the parts. You have to be able to learn how to do it. You have to be able to fix them.
I wonder how they'll define consumer durables, and will companies start angling to not be under that umbrella framework?
They come right out and say phones and tablets here. So it'll definitely be that at least. That's probably the number one thing for most people. Although, laptops and stuff would be good too.
Yeah.
Would be nice. More and more of those are the same thing as phones. And crypto. Let's do a big
That's a big crypto block.
Actually, it's not that big, is it? Let's see how big it is.
It's like 3 stories. That's not bad. Never mind.
The business section is the one that has the crypto block. Now I remember that. So yeah, G20 is not. They don't have any power, right? It's just it's a trade group, but they tend to follow the directions they give. So they actually do have power because the members of it kowtow and do what they say, which is why this is sort of disturbing, because up until now, they've not done anything but never let a crisis go to waste, right?
Yeah.
You drop 50% of your market value, they step in.
G20 watchdog proposed first global crypto rules in October.
Global.
Does that mean that they're just trying to get ahead of, everyone moving things to Bitcoin, or?
It means it supersedes sovereignty, which is never good. Any self-respecting country would say no to that. But I don't think we can respect ourselves anymore.
No.
And Binance, they've certainly had some bad news recently, and now they have more. Although everyone involved here does admit that it wasn't that they didn't try; it was just that they didn't try hard enough.
Binance served crypto traders in Iran despite U.S. sanctions, clients say. Iran?
Iran is right, yeah.
Is that right? I've heard both. I've heard Iran, too.
Iran is not right.
Iran.
And so, yeah, VPNs, fake accounts, fake addresses. These people went to some trouble to trick them, but the powers that be are saying, yeah, well, that's not enough. You should do more to make sure you can't do that because these people are sanctioned. And
this
Sri
one
Lanka
was hilarious. I mean, not hilarious because there's a lot of suffering, but also it's like, really?
No,
That's what you're concerned about right now?
I don't know what the numbers are on their foreign exchange right now, but it's bad.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think you could exchange your money in their current situation. They probably can't find anybody to actually give you $1 in that. There's no way, because that currency is going to keep dropping most likely.
Yeah.
So the smart thing to do, or maybe the self-preservation thing to do, would be to turn to cryptocurrency, right? Except it happened to coincide with the biggest crash in cryptocurrency history. So what do? Well, the government has some advice for you.
Sri Lanka Central Bank warns against use of cryptocurrency amid economic crisis.
They say that it's not regulated and it could lose its value and you could get scammed.
I mean, none of that's untrue, but also like Sri Lanka's currency not doing so hot either.
Their entire previous government was pretty much a scam. So
That's a tough place to be. I don't think we have any Sri Lankan viewers. If we do, feel free to comment on how things are going over there.
or maybe don't. Well, I guess the new government may be better.
I
Guess
don't
you don't
know.
have to worry
Yeah.
about that anymore. Who knows? I don't know. I did see that. Well, we got another story about that guy. I must have missorted it. And our final government story, maybe I did missort it. It has come out of China. Now, China also, I didn't put any of these stories in there, but they're real. You've been reading about their real estate?
Is it also going up right now?
So they have a problem in China with unfinished buildings, right?
Right.
They will build a high-rise building. Nobody has a house in China.
Yeah.
You buy like a condo type situation. And before the building is done, they'll sell the units. And then when it's done, you move in, you get your unit. And you have to buy them early because there's so many people trying to get them, or at least there were. So a lot of people end up moving in or even not moving in, and they pay, and the project never gets finished.
Oh.
So they have a mortgage
for something they can't actually use.
It's not finished.
Right.
Or they're using it, but it's not what was promised to them. They have all gotten together on social media and stopped paying their mortgages.
That's incredible.
That is incredible.
I love that.
And, well, that's a very dangerous thing. And it seems that the Communist Party is losing control because they also introduced vaccines, mandatory vaccination in Beijing.
Right.
They had to roll it back the next day.
Did people start getting angry?
People refused it.
Huh.
And they're like, wait a minute, what? The Chinese people are refusing things?
They put their foot down on something?
So now the ball seems to be kind of rolling. There's another thing that they're not a big fan of.
Some Beijing travelers asked to wear COVID monitoring bracelets, sparking outcry. Another story that we've talked about, I think maybe briefly on the news. I know we've talked, or not the news. We've also talked about it on our Twitch channel a little bit, is how in China there's that banking crisis and all their bracelets turned as soon as they went to protest.
That was the QR code on the phone.
Yeah.
This is an extra step with the bracelet. Yeah.
Wow,
So
yeah.
the people who...
But I could see why someone would immediately be like, heck no, I ain't doing that.
The people getting the bracelets already had the QR code. So, and they were like, I know that you're not just tracking my infection status here. I know you're tracking everything about me. So no, I'm not doing that.
Good for them.
Which is, it's just so brave in China.
Yeah.
But with everybody doing it, I think they're going to have to do something about this mortgage thing.
I hope so.
That's so great. I love that.
Good for the Chinese people. Hopefully they're not punished for it.
Well, I think they might be.
Yeah.
Well, moving on to the security section, and this might seem like a bit of a time warp for you. How about a speculative execution exploit?
New working speculative execution attack sends Intel and AMD scrambling.
So this is an exploit that takes the fix of the previous speculative execution exploit and exploits the fix. So it's called reptiline, after trampoline, because the returns are bouncing back and then they're taking advantage of that. It's very technical. But to fix it, they're looking at 12 to 28% more speed loss for these CPUs retroactively, which we already had with the first fix. We already lost speed after the first speculative execution.
That looks very bad for their marketing brochures.
Yeah, not great. But I guess the good news is, if you are a chip maker, is it seems to affect the big two equally.
Yeah.
They actually had, I think, a chart affected CPUs here. Yeah. So lots of current big name CPUs are affected by this thing.
Dang.
And Xorg, if you use Xorg, we got a new vulnerability for you.
Xorg server hit by a new privilege escalation, remote code execution vulnerabilities.
This affects the keyboard, and I think you have to have a root physical access to take advantage of it. Most people probably don't use it in that way, but if you do use it, of course you should update. Mm-hmm. And if you're waiting for us to tell you that, you should join the mailing list.
We don't have a mailing list.
No, the Xorg mailing list. Like, that's one mailing list you should be on.
I feel like every time we do, the security is my least favorite section of the show, but I feel like every time we do it, it's literally just patch your stuff. Patch your stuff.
Yeah, well,
patch your stuff.
Patch your stuff and read this news before we bring it to you.
Yeah.
Because it's far too late at that point. And here's another one. If you have a Lenovo laptop, a lot of people do.
Lenovo patches
Sorry.
UEFI code execution vulnerability affecting many laptops.
So, I thought they had a list of models down here. It's a lot of current Lenovo laptop models. It's a UEFI problem, so you need to patch that.
They really didn't put a list?
Maybe this is a paywall alternative. They also mentioned the new speculative attacks there. Now, we've heard in the past about car key fob, people who work around them. This was a very popular thing a while back, and then the car company was like, okay, we're going to start treating our keys differently. We're going to start rotating the keys. But you also might be out of range of the car, so it might never communicate, so you have to store multiple keys, and it gets kind of complicated. But Honda, their way of fixing it was probably a little half-assed.
Nah. I tried the Honda key fob hack on my own car. It totally worked.
In fact, it works on nearly all modern Hondas. Here's a little chart that's showing you how the codes are used. What they're doing here is they are tricking the car into resynchronizing and accepting old codes. So I will listen to your code, store it, and then like a device like this, something with a radio in it, a software-defined radio, then I'm going to play it back, but I got to trick the car into saying like, oh, that's an old code, but it still checks out, just like in Star Wars. And almost every model, how many cars does Honda make? Because 4 of the 2022s are affected.
Say 2012.
Yeah, 2012 was
Wow.
the oldest one. Right. That's the one that this guy had. That's a 2012 right there.
I was about to say old cars are probably going to one day be at a premium because they're not as vulnerable to this kind of thing, but I have a 2012.
They'll be worse. The further back you are, like if you go back far enough, they're not even rolling the codes.
Right.
So, even worse.
I'm just thinking of all the like pay for features they're going to start adding to cars where it's like pay a subscription for this, heated seats and to roll down your windows
or just call us to unlock your car. Mm-hmm. We'll make sure that it's safe. Although so many cities at this point are not prosecuting car thefts, maybe we should just don't lock them anymore. Just open them.
I've heard some people do that in really high crime areas.
Yeah.
They just don't keep anything in the car because they're like, at least then my window doesn't get broken.
Exactly. And no one will prosecute that crime. Cops won't even come and take the report, I think, in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
They'll just give you a coupon for the glass people. That's not true. They don't even do that. Oh, 3 Arrow Capital. Ooh. They've had a tough time. Now they have their founders looked at the situation. They did some quick math on the back of an envelope and then disappeared. Mm-hmm. They can't be found.
New York judge freezes assets of 3 Arrows Capital as crypto firm's founders remain underground.
They talk about the process of liquidation and what has to happen here. You got to do account for everything, do all the stuff. So really what they're saying is somebody's going to make money for the next 3 to 6 months doing this, but you as a victim of 3 Arrows Capital, you're probably not going to see much. Whatever's left is probably going to go into the bureaucracy of processing whatever is left.
Those say, and the lawyers.
Yeah, oh yeah, sure. Yeah. Plenty of law firms. But at least these guys won't get it, wherever they are.
I'll say, how do you disappear like that so quickly?
Well, I'm sure that they were personally quite rich. In something other than crypto.
Strange how that works.
Microsoft had a bit of a stumble. They reintroduced Office macros, which if you've ever opened an Office document and you tried to click on something and you had to click that little enable button at the top, and you're like, oh my God, I know that enable button might be giving me malware, but what am I going to do here? I got to use this document. They claimed that they had a fix for that, but
Microsoft still plans to block Office macros by default after temporary rollback. They say they're fully committed to making the change.
But not right now.
Yeah.
Turns out it went bad all of a sudden.
They're busy. They're a small company. They don't have a lot of other things, a lot of staff to do that.
Now, one thing we talk a lot about in the security section, and personally this is a big fear of mine, I'm afraid of things that I cannot control or detect. AirTags being one, for sure. Although I don't think too many people are trying to stalk me.
No, and I would like to think you would find it eventually, but maybe not.
I don't know that I ever would. But also SIM swap attacks on my phone. Because again, there's nothing I can do to stop that. If there's an employee at the phone company who's willing to go bad, to be a bad egg, I can lose my SIM and somebody else can take it over and they can, steal all my stuff and blah, blah, blah. Here's a new one that you might have never considered.
Experian, you have some explaining to do. This is from Krebs on security.
So what happens here? Someone goes to a credit service like Experian, signs up with your name and credentials, stuff they've got about you, which they can get from the dark web, if not for free, for a couple of pennies probably.
Yeah.
And use a different email address. Now, if you've never signed up with Experian, which I've not, probably should, I guess. Although, here's the choice, the catch-22. You can sign up with Experian and be in their system, and when they get hacked, lose your information, or you can not sign up with Experian and risk someone else doing it in your name, which they will allow. So they identified, was it 7 people?
I think so.
Who went through this. Some of them actually had already signed up and had strong passwords and I think 2-factor. But it didn't matter because it was a different account using the same information. Somehow their database doesn't make that
it's
collision.
Not like, this person has all the same things except for email.
And then once they have that, they have control of your credit and they can, of course, abuse you in various ways. And you might not even realize it until much later.
RIP. Also, you said you don't think anyone's stalking you. I would like to remind you of duplicate UID.
Oh my God, that's right.
We had a stream sniper.
PUBG stream sniped. But he wasn't good at it.
No, he wasn't good.
I think it was at least 50-50, right?
Yeah.
Now, in fairness, it was 3-on-1, but we're bad.
Yeah.
And he knew exactly where we were at all times.
And what our strategy was if he was listening, because we were talking about, go this way.
Yeah, he baited us with that one truck.
Yeah.
He knew we needed a truck.
So we are being stalked, just virtually, which is different.
I don't know that he used air tags for that.
No.
Now, China has a big intellectual property theft problem. If you believe the Western governments. Now, the CCP will tell you that that's just maliciousness and there's nothing to it. Never mind that a lot of their products and technology look exactly like ours.
Oh, they have a slightly different color.
Red.
Yeah.
But now there's a new startup that says that they are going to single-handedly stop that.
China suspected IP thieves targeted by startup Strider Technologies. I could actually read that. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to read it very well. It's a small text.
Not that small, though, really.
But I mean, from the distance we're at.
Yeah. So Strider will actually not just monitor, it's open source. It looks at open source and open source contributors. And I think they're doing a little bit of profiling here.
Yeah.
But they're looking at people. So if they see somebody who is in an American educational institution and all of a sudden they drop out and start working on open source and then go to China or something like that, they claim that they can follow that whole arc and figure out if those guys took something from the U.S., some IP from the U.S., and recycled it in China, and they can determine who those people are. I don't know what we do with that information unless they're still here.
Yeah, I was going to say, can we even persecute that, though? That's kind of the problem, right?
But they also, this article points out, this is the Hindustan Times.
It's a paywall alternative, I assume.
Trump did the big anti-China push and prosecuted a lot of those cases, and a lot of them have turned out to not get convicted of anything in court.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's because the CCP has sway in those courts or because those people were prosecuted when they should not have been, who knows? But it seems like the government is taking a lighter hand with that kind of thing, which is weird.
Considering how a chokehold they have on our stuff here, like companies.
And that the next war is almost guaranteed to be with them. I mean, they're pretty public about saying that they want to be number one, and they're willing to go a long way to get there.
China number one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's literally the official policy. And we read a lot about, well, let's just think about the government section that we just did, right? All those companies going after big tech, and why are they doing it? tracking. They don't like the tracking. They don't like them using our data against us, which makes this headline delicious.
Shocking study reveals most government websites serve tracking cookies without consent.
That's not legal. Of course, Russia number one.
Yeah.
Now that's based on percentage, but in terms of the number of actual sites, USA a close number 2, but India absolutely killing it. India has a low percentage with 1429. How many government websites does India have?
Yeah.
I mean, they do have a lot of people.
And they probably have a lot of states too. It's a big area.
So yeah, turns out they're running tracking, and I think in a lot of cases, especially in India, it's probably just like people who don't even think about it. It's like, of course we run tracking. Who doesn't? Everybody does that, right?
There was quite a bit of panic when the EU introduced all their rules about like cookies and stuff. Like I had a lot of clients suddenly being like, should we be worried?
Yeah. Turns out
Yeah.
not much was done.
No.
But it would be nice if you would worry
You
about
can
that.
have like a pop-up that's like, hey, do you care? And most people just hit okay.
I think Wendell talked about this. I don't know if he did it on one of these shows. It might have been on the Twitch stream, but it was one of his rants that he went on, or he was talking about this.
He's not here, so he can't talk about it.
And but now we have official news stories. This was July 8th, so we missed it last week. But this is scary because, yeah, this was a terrible crime, but the scarier thing is that this stuff is out there. It's in the infrastructure.
CEO arrested for selling $1 billion in fake Cisco hardware on Amazon and eBay.
So what fake hardware is in this case, something like this, where they take that, it's an older device or device that is roughly the same form factor, but not quite the same, and they physically modify it to look exactly the same. And they modify the software to appear exactly the same, but that's still cheaper at scale. And this guy made a lot of money selling this stuff. Sold it at a deep discount versus the real stuff, not the fake stuff.
Yeah.
So they got him, they busted his warehouse, and I think he had like 9 million worth of stuff just that day in the warehouse. Wow. Oh, 7 million. Yeah. All counterfeit Cisco. So somewhere out there, maybe in your ISP, maybe in the website you just gave your credit card to, there's fake China-sourced Cisco equipment.
Just can't trust anything anymore.
And you know what I hate these days? I hate it when a gaming company makes me register to play a game.
Yes, I have to do that tonight for the game.
Oh, right, yeah.
That we're going to play on Twitch.
That one makes a little bit more sense because I think they do that for anti-online griefing.
Yeah, maybe, but I still was like, because I fired it up and was ready to play, and then it's like, nope, you need an account.
But there's no reason for that to happen to me while I'm enjoying Elden Ring.
Yes. Elden Ring gaming giant Bandai Namco says hackers may have stolen customer data. So they have.
Yeah, for sure.
They've stolen it.
And
it's gone.
Related to the toys and hobby business, which includes the video game division, they're a massive company. A ransomware group has taken responsibility.
RIP. Sir, is there anything we can do if you're someone who plays Elden Ring? Or just cry a little bit?
I guess you just chug some Estus and cry. Wait, they don't call it Estus in that game, do they? What do they call
it? It's Estus, though.
It's Estus.
Yeah.
You can absorb some gems, feel better about yourself. And our final security story is a terrifying one. However, I don't remember exactly what we said, but I bet if you were to go back in the history of, well, not this show.
Yeah, the old show.
The old show that we used to do, which we're not doing anymore.
Right.
You could find where we predicted this exact thing because, of course, this was going to happen. I mean, everybody who looked at how this worked knew this was going to happen.
Amazon admits giving Ring camera footage to the police without warrant or consent. 11 times this year alone.
So that might seem like a small amount of time, but Amazon's policy is we never do that. We always ask you before we touch that data, especially before we give it to police. But now they're saying, well, in emergencies, we don't. Extreme emergencies. Now, immediately the reporter came back and said, well, can you lay out what an extreme emergency is or give us examples of what these 11 emergencies were that you decided to break that with? And they declined.
So I think thinking about it, we're on month 7 of the year. There's 11. That's almost like at least one. That's actually is one a month, probably 2 a month. But they were just like, yeah, you can have it.
About that. So that number will not. Every time a cop gets a case or a DA gets a prosecution with that, they will go back harder the next time because it's easy. Why wouldn't you do it? If it makes your job 90% easier, of course you're going to try to do it every time. You'd be an idiot not to. Or a libertarian, and I don't see any libertarians wearing badges.
Don't get a Ring doorbell, chat.
That would be the ultimate answer, right?
Yeah. But I mean, if your neighbor has one, does it matter?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the Ring doorbell that you have to worry about is usually not yours. That's the bad thing about it.
What if the horse across the street from me gets the Ring doorbell for
What if
his
they had
paddock?
a collar on the horse?
They just have on him all the time. He's always monitoring my house.
But they have to get him to always be pointing at your house.
Yeah.
Train him. Surveillance horse. All right. That's all we got for Tuesday's show, which is not, again, that's not news.
It's not news, yeah. Because
a variety
show. Week in Review, I think, was one that we used.
Maybe. Yeah.
It's not news, though. We'll see you guys tomorrow or Wednesday or whatever day we release these.
It'll be tomorrow.
Yeah. Bye.
Business and social.